Hey guys, welcome to part 5 of my video series on creating a chat application using Flask and Socket.io. In the last few videos, we have been implementing the authentication functionality in our chat application, and since it is done, let's move ahead to the next part, which is how can we implement the concept of chat rooms in our application along with the storage of the information about those rooms, right? So while we were creating a basic chat application, we just created the concept of room, which is just a room ID, that you just put a room ID and then you can chat in that room, right? So that was the concept, but now we have to save the information about the room as well, and also the conversation which is happening in that room. So what we're going to do in this particular video is that we're going to implement the storage functionality for the chat room. So by storage, I mean all kind of operations that can happen on the chat room, and all the information related to it should be stored. So by that, I mean that we will be having the operations for creating a room, viewing a room, which means that chatting in a particular room, and finally editing a room, right? So this is all that we are going to do in this particular video. So without any delay, let's get started. Okay, so I have already designed some schema for my chat room entity. So what is going to happen is that I'm going to store the information about each room, where it will have following fields. It will have an ID. I'm using underscore ID here because it is a default field in the mongoDB, which represents the unique values, right? So every room in my collection will have a unique underscore ID field. So that is what I'm going to keep as system generated for now. And then we will have the name of the room, then created at, and then created by. So these are the 4 fields for a room entity. Then we are going to create a room member. So room member will be another collection in which we'll be storing following information in each document. So the ID will be a collection or a combination of room ID as well as username. So basically in my room members collection, what is going to be unique? The thing which is going to be unique is the room ID along with the username, which is for every username in a given room ID, we have a unique room member, right? So that's why we are going to use a composite, or you can say compound ID, right? So that is what we're going to do. Other than that, we are going to store the name of the room. It is just for the utility purposes. And then is room admin is what we are going to keep, which will help us to know if the user is allowed to add other members to the room or not. Then added at, which is when was the room member added it to that particular room, and then added by, which is who added that person to that room. So this is the basic fields of my collections that I'm gonna use. And now let us see what operations are we gonna allow. So the operations that we're going to allow are the create room. So in create room, what will happen is that the user will go to a web page, and then they will see the option of providing a room name and some members. So in the room name, they will provide the name for the room, and in members, they'll provide a comma separated list of usernames. So we will get that data, and then we will first of all create a room in our rooms collection, and then we will add all the room members to the room members collection. So this is what we are going to do in the create room view, or the operation you can say. Other than that, we will have view room. So in view room, or let's say before that, let's go to edit room. So in edit room, we will already be having a room ID, which we will get once the room gets created. So we will be knowing the room ID, and then we will provide the user with a form where they can provide another room name for that room, and they can edit the members of that room as well. So what happens is that when they submit that form, then we will update the room name. So for that, we'll be using update room function. And then other than that, we will also add room members, or we might remove some room members which are no longer part of the members list. So this is what we are going to be doing for edit room. And also we are going to need an operation which is room admin, where we will check if the person is a room admin or not. If a person is a room admin, only then they will be allowed to edit the room. So this is it. And other than that, let's come finally to view room. So view room will be another operation where the person will open a particular URL where they will be able to chat in that particular room. So there we will also be, first of all, we will be checking if that person is a member of the room or not. If they are not a member of the room, then they will not be able to see that room. So that is the first condition that we have. And other than that, we will get room, basically, which means that we will get the room name, and finally we will get the room members by using the get room members function. So yeah, so these are the DB operations that we are going to do. And finally, on the home page, I'm going to show the user all the rooms that they are a part of. So we will use get rooms for user. So we will create a function called get rooms for user, which will fetch all the rooms of a particular user. So these are all the operations that we are going to do, and now we are going to implement all of them in our application one by one. So let's get started with that. Okay, so this is our db.py file, and what I have done is that I have first of all added the two new collections that I need in my database. The first one is called rooms collection, in which I'm just fetching it like get collection rooms. So what happens is that if the collection does not exist with the given name, then it is created by default by mongoDB. So we are defining rooms collection and the room members collection for storing the room members data. And now let us define all the operations that we need. So let us start with save room. So what I have actually done is that for all the required operations, I have just created the functions with their required arguments, but I have not written the definitions, so that we can just see and learn how to actually query PyMongo in the best ways possible. Okay, so let us get started. So the first thing is save room. So how do we save a room? So in order to save room, what we do is we use rooms collection and we do insert one, in which we will pass the required data. So we are gonna do room name is going to be my room name, and created by, so created by is the person who is creating that room. So we're just gonna save their username, and then what else we will get, it is created at, that is gonna be date time dot now. So date time dot now. So for that I'm just going to import from date time, import date time. So in this way we are creating a room collection, we are creating a room in our room collection. And now I also need the room ID, so that I can use that room ID to create or add a room member, right? So first of all, who do I need to insert into the room? So the first person that I will need to add to my room is the person who is creating that room, right? And after that I have to add other people. So this is what I have to do. So what I'm going to do here is, so let me just remove the usernames from here. Let me just get the room name and who created that room. So what we will do is, first of all I need to get the room ID. So room ID is this. So what is it? What happens is that insert one will return you the insert one result, where the insert one result has a function called inserted ID, which is the inserted documents ID. So let's just go with it, dot inserted ID, right? And once we get that inserted ID, we use that ID to save the room admin to the list of room members. So what I'm going to do is room members collection dot insert one, well, not insert one, or let's just leave it. We will do add room member. We are going to define a function called add room member, which is for you, which will be used for adding one room member at a time. And we will also define add room members, which will be used for bulk insertion. So we are going to first of all pass room ID, then the room name that we have defined here. So this is the function prototype. So room ID, room name, then the username. So the username of the person who needs to be added as the room member, that is created by. Added by, let us also keep it as created by. So the person who has created the room is adding himself to the room because he's the admin. So is admin is gonna be true. So in this way we are defining this. And finally let us return the room ID as well, so that it can be used in some other things. So yeah, so in this way we have defined our save room operation, where the user is telling me that this is the room name and this is the person who is creating it. So this is fine. So now let me define add room member. So add room member is gonna be room members collection dot insert one. Now insert one, what data do I need to insert? So as I had defined in my schema, I had defined that the ID of the room member will be a combination of room ID and username. So how do we do that? It's gonna be done like this. Underscore ID is a kind of a dictionary, where I'm gonna define the room ID as the room ID and the username as the username that we are getting. So in this way I have defined my unique key of my collection. And other than that, what are we gonna do is we are going to define some other things like added by. So added by will be added by, and also it is going to be added at. So that is going to be datetime dot now. And finally we are going to do is room admin, and let us keep it as is admin. Okay, so now let me just redefine the function, the parameter is admin as is room admin. Okay, that looks more better. So is room admin is room admin. Okay, that's it. So in this way we are doing it. Actually I also wanted to save the room name, right? So let me just save the room name as well. So room name is going to be room name. Okay, so in this way we have defined our add room member function. Let me just format it a bit. So let me just format it. Okay, so this looks good. So we have defined add room member. Now let me define add room members. So once we have added the admin, we need to add other members as well, right? So for that I'm creating this another function which will add room members. So this is actually going to be a bulk operation. So for that you use insert many. Now in insert many I will pass a list of dictionaries instead of a single dictionary. So this will be the list of dictionaries. For username, in usernames I'm gonna pass something here. Okay, so what I'm gonna pass, so I'm actually pass this complete thing again, but I'm just gonna change a few things here. So ID, room ID, that room ID is cool. Username is the username that we are getting each time in the loop. Room name is fine, added by is fine, added at is fine. Is room admin is actually gonna be false. Well, I think I have done a small mistake here. Well, is room admin is a function as well that I have already created, right? So should I do something about it? Well, let me just is room admin. Well, it should not affect us much, right? Because that is a function name, and is room admin here is a parameter name, so I don't think that it should affect us much. Okay, so that is fine, and add room members is done. So now let us move on to the other things. So let's say all these things will help us to create a room, but once a room has been created we need to see it, right? So in order to see a room, what you need to do is you need to define get room. So it is going to be done as rooms collection dot find one, in which I have to define underscore ID is something. Now the thing is that what should be my underscore ID? Well, I will define it like this: object ID of room ID. Now let me tell you why I'm doing this. So we are going to use bson for that. So what happens is that when you define an auto-generated underscore ID field in your mongoDB database, then that field is actually in binary JSON format, or it is actually an object ID. So object ID is a special type of data which is defined like this. As you can see here, it is a 12-byte unique identifier string. Okay, so now I need to convert my simple string to an object ID. Okay, otherwise we will not be able to find it, right? Because no room will be existing with an ID which is a string. It is actually an object ID. So that's why we are doing this. So get room is defined, and once we have got the room, we also need to get the room members, right? So here is my get room members. So let me define it as well. So room members collection dot find. So let us just keep it find, because we need to find multiple people. So how do we find it? So for finding that we need to provide a filter. So what is my filter gonna be now? So my filter is gonna be something like underscore ID dot room ID should be room ID. Okay, so let us try to understand it a bit. So we are creating room members like this. We are defining that the underscore ID field is having room ID and the username both. So if I want to search only by the room ID field of the ID field, then I need to define it like this. Okay, so in this way we will get the room members. And similarly, if you want to get the rooms for a particular user, then you will do it like this: room members collection dot find, and then you will define your filter like underscore ID dot username is the username. Okay, so in this way we'll do it. Now also, while a person tries to view a room, we should first of all know if that person is a member of the room or not, right? So how do we define that? So in order to do that, what we are going to do is room members collection dot count documents. So we are going to search the documents which have this information, like the underscore ID is equal to, so all those, search any document where the room ID is this room ID and the username is this username. So if any document matches with this information, that means that the person is actually a room member of that room. Okay, now let me do one thing which I am just doing a bit wrong, which is to make it object ID. Every time I will be calling these functions, I'll be passing the room ID as a string. So I'm just gonna define them as object IDs. Object ID, object ID. And okay, so let me also define is room admin function as well right now. So how do we check if a person is a room admin or not? So for doing that, we are first of all gonna check if he's a room member or not, and in that filter I'm just gonna add another field which is room admin, which should be true. Okay, so this is our is room admin condition. So we are just taking that, we are just trying to find the first document where the person is actually a room member, and then we also put the filter of finding if he's the room admin or not. Okay, so this also looks fine, this looks fine, and add room members looks fine. Yeah, so just for consistency, what I'm gonna do is every time I'm gonna put room ID, I'm just gonna fit it with the object ID as well. So let me use it like this. Okay, and yeah, that looks fine. And other than that, everything else seems fine to me. Okay, now let's move to the update room. How do I update a room? So in the room updation, the only thing that I can change is the room name, because I cannot change created by and created at, right? So how do we update the room name? So for that, let's go to the rooms collection, update one. I have to update only one room, right? And then I have to provide a filter first. So how do you update in mongoDB is that you provide a filter and then you provide what changes do you want to do. So the filter is that the underscore ID should be object ID room ID that you are passing to me, and then in another argument I have to provide what should be updated. So here you have to define underscore set, like what values you want to set, and then you define here which value you are trying to set. So I'm trying to set the room name. So the room name is a field called room underscore name, right? So actually one thing that I wanted was in my room collection, let me just call it just name. So let's keep it name. So it goes like room name. Okay, so name is here, room name is going like this. So it seems fine. Okay, so in this way the room name will get updated. Final thing which is remaining is remove room members, right? So let us see how to remove room members. So room members collection dot remove or delete, actually delete many. So how many I want to delete? Multiple at a time. So first of all, in order to delete, you have to provide a filter. So what is my filter going to be? My filter is going to be underscore ID should be something, right? Now what that underscore ID should be? Now that underscore ID can be multiple values because I have to delete a lot of them. So a way of solving this problem is to define or to use the underscore the $in function of mongoDB, where you provide the multiple values that can be taken by underscore id. So in this way you define it. This is a syntax. So now in this list I'm going to define all the possible values of underscore id which should match and should be deleted. So it should be something like this. Room id should be room id, and the username should be username for username in usernames. Okay, so let us try to understand it. So we want to remove some room members. So we get a list of usernames, and now I am using delete many, where I have to define the unique identifier for each room member that I want to delete. And for that there is an $in operation where you provide the list of all the possible values of the id field, and if they are matching then they will be removed. So in this way this is defined. Okay, so I think we have pretty much written the PyMongo code for all the operations that we are going to require. So let's move ahead with the Flask app and their views. Okay, so this is our app.py file, and let me start by defining the create room view. So this is login, sign up, logout, and from here let me define. So @app.route. so the route is going to be /create-room, and the methods that I'm going to allow are get and post. So get is for getting the form for creating the room, and then post is for submitting that form, and the login is going to be required in order to fetch this particular page. So def create room. So create room, and now what are we going to do? Right, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to return a template, right? So render template, in which its name is going to be create room.html, right? So let us keep it like this. So now in my templates folder I have already created the create room.html. so this is how it looks like. It is a very simple HTML file where we have created a form where we have the room name and the members which can be inputted by the user and then submitted. So let's try it out. Okay, so my server is already running. So let's go to create room. So it's saying that the requested URL was not found on my server. So let me just see what's the issue. So we have app.py, app.route is create-room. Let me put a trailing slash, and let's see. Okay, so it seems to be working fine. Actually I've not logged in, so now let me first log in. Okay, so now let's go to create room. So this is our create room form, right? You have to input the room name and the members and then submit. So what happens if you submit it, right? So now I have to write the logic when the person submits that form. So if request dot method is post, then I have to define what should happen. So first of all I will have to fetch the room name. So room name is gonna be request dot form dot get room name, and then I have to fetch the name of the members. So members is going to be request dot form dot get members. So what I will get by doing this is a string which will have usernames separated by commas, but actually I need a list of usernames. So what I'm going to do for that is just split it by comma. But again, let's say you put a space before or after your comma, then I have to remove that as well, right? So I'm just going to do it something like this. Username dot split for dot strip actually. So strip is a function which will remove trailing white spaces. Username dot strip for username in this. Okay, so let me call it usernames. Okay, so this is room name, and then we have got the usernames. So what's going to happen is I have to check if there is some length of the room name, and there is some length of usernames. So what we're checking is if the user has provided the room name which has some characters, and the usernames, user have provided at least one username to us. So if these two conditions are being satisfied, then we will be saving that, right? So let's do it. Save room. So import save room, and save room takes the room name and the created by. So the room name is going to be room name, and created by is going to be current user dot username. So in this way we are gonna save a particular room. Now once the room is saved, we will actually get the room ID, right? We will get the room ID. So actually save room is returning the room ID, and one thing is it is also adding the room member, right? Now one thing is that let's say a user in their form provide us with a username which also contains their username as well. So if the username also contains the admin username, then we might be adding the same user two times, because here we are adding the room member like the admin, and then here we are adding the room members, all the room members again in this bulk insertion function. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to find if I already have the admin name in the usernames list, right? So if current user dot username in usernames, then usernames dot remove the current user dot username. So this is what I'm going to do, and once that is done, I am ready to bulk save all the remaining usernames in my room members collections. So add room members. So let us import add room members, and in the add room members we are going to pass a few things which are starting with room ID, room name, usernames added by. So room ID we have, room name we have, usernames we have, and added by is again current user dot username. Okay, so this seems fine. So in this way we are able to save the room members as well. And let's say the length of room name is 0, or let's say the number of usernames is 0, then we are going to pass some message that failed to create room, and let me define it like this. Message initially is empty, and we are going to pass it as a template argument to our template. That's it. So this is my create room function, and it seems fine. So let us test it out now. So our server is running, so let's try out this function. Okay, so the room name, let me call it my room, and members, let me keep it like Nikhil and Rohit. Okay, so let us submit it. Okay, we came back to create room, right? So I think the insertion might have happened, so let us check it out. So this is my Mongo database. Look at that, we have room members and the rooms collections here. So in the rooms we have one new room, my room. It has been created by Nikhil, created at this time, so this seems fine. And then the room members, we have two room members, Nikhil, and so it is Nikhil, and another room member's username is Rohit, and it both have been added by Nikhil, and Nikhil is the room admin but Rohit is not. So yeah, so it seems that our functions are working really fine, and the create room is actually working absolutely fine. The only thing which is remaining is that if the create room is successful, then we should actually redirect the user to some other page. Let's say the URL for view room. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to define a view room function. Okay, so and in view room I will also be passing the room ID. So what I'm going to do is I actually already have view room. So let me start by, okay, so one thing is that I do not know the room ID right now. So let me start by making a few minor changes at my home. So at home, if current user dot is authenticated, so if the current user is authenticated, then I'm gonna return a list of rooms. So rooms is equal to get rooms for user, in which we will pass the current user dot username. So by default rooms is an empty list, so import get rooms for user. Now one thing is that what I have missed here is that when you use the find function of any collection object, then you get a cursor which is like an iterator, so you need to convert it to a list. So let me just convert it to a list like this. Okay, so now this should work fine. So here we are getting the rooms, and then let me pass it to my index.html. Rooms equal to rooms. Okay, so on my index.html, here we have this simple form where I'm asking for the user to enter a username and the room ID. Well, I think this form will not matter much now. I think it is not required, so let me remove this from here. Okay, now let me show the user what all rooms are they a member of. So for that, I'm going to define it something like this. So now this is some Jinja template code for member in, for room in rooms, actually for room in rooms. Well, actually what is happening is get rooms for user is actually going to return me the room members collection objects, right? And they will have the room name. So but let me consider it as a room. So for room in rooms, and here I'm going to define a li tag where I'm going to just put room dot room name. That's simple. So let us see if this thing is working or not. So let me go back to the home page, and here we go. I'm getting my room, right? So it is showing me that I am a part of one room. Now let's say I want to see or join or view that room, right? So how do I go about doing that? So for that, we are now gonna write a view. So here I have create room, and then I already have a chat view, right? So that is doing the required thing. So now let me do some changes to chat. So let me first of all call it view room. So the route will be rooms slash some room ID will be provided in the URL itself, something like this. And then here I'm gonna call it view room, and here we're gonna use the room ID, and let's see what we're gonna do about it. So username we do not need, room we do not need. So room is gonna be get room for the room ID. So first of all, we fetch the room for the given room ID. So if room exists, and is room member, and we check if the current user is a member of that room or not. So we will pass the room ID and current user dot username. So in this way we will check if this person is a member of that room or not. If that is the case, only then we will go here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna, okay, and if that is not the case, then actually I'm gonna return room not found with a 404 status code. Okay, and here chat.html, I'm gonna rename that. I'm gonna call it from now on, I'm gonna call it view room. So let me just fix it here as well, view room.html. No need to pass username or the room. Okay, so I will need to pass the room data, and other than that I will also like to pass the room members list, right? So how do I get the room members list? Room members is equal to get room members. So I've already defined get room members. So we will get the get room members, in which I will have to just pass the room ID. So we will pass the room members as well. Okay, so this is how my view room is gonna look like. So here is the view room template. So let us do a few changes here. So first of all, I would like to say welcome to chat room, and then I will like to put the name of my room here. So it is gonna be room.name, right? And other than that, I was using the room variable as the room ID, but now it's gonna be room dot underscore ID, right? Similarly, at all other places I have to do this, and here, that's it. This seems fine. So in this way we will define the actual room ID, because room is actually a complete object and the room ID is what I need. So this looks fine. And now let us see if this much thing is working or not. So let me just okay, so now also let me make a link on my index page to that room as well. A href slash rooms slash room ID. So room ID is room dot underscore ID dot room ID. So this is how we get the room ID. Let me finish this anchor tag. So this is it. So let me just reload this page. I get the link. Let me click here. Okay, so it is saying room not found. Well, that's not expected. Okay, so let's see what might have gone wrong. So we are getting room not found. Okay, so let us start with if we are getting something from get room or not. Okay, so get room should actually return something, right? I am missing the return statement here. So return, this looks fine. Now let me reload it. Okay, we are still getting room not found. So it is gonna return by finding that room ID, right? So room ID will be provided, and then is room member. So is room member will return if that person is a member of that room or not. So okay, what I'm missing here is it was actually a key. Okay, so now let me reload this page. Okay, so look at that, it is working fine. It is now saying that welcome to chat room, and here is the name of my chat room. Now I also would like to show the name of all the participants which are in this group or in this room. So for that, what can we do is in the view room here, after the form, let me just write another loop inside a ul tag modo for member in room members, and here we will put an li tag where we will put the name of the member. So it is member dot underscore id dot username. That's it. So let us see if this works or not. Look at that, we are getting the name of the members of this room. So this seems to be working fine. So we have done the create room as well as the view room thing, and it seems to be working fine. Okay, one thing that we are left with is, okay, so I have to pass the username as well, which I am not passing actually. So in the view room I have to pass username as well. Username equal to current user dot username. So if you remember, earlier in our basic application we were passing the username that we were getting through the URL parameters, but that is not the case now since we have implemented authentication. Okay, so now let me try. Okay, so let me see, it is current user dot username. So let's see if everything has reloaded or not. Let me just try it out. Okay, so it seems to be working fine, right? So yeah, so create room and view room is done, and the final thing which is remaining is update room. So let us see how to go about doing that. So update room is what I'm going to define here, at the rate app dot route, in which we will have the route which is slash rooms slash room ID, just like the view room, but and then there will be slash edit, and also we will put some methods which is get as well as post. So we will need both of these methods, and then at the rate login is always required here, and then def edit room where we will use the room ID. Okay, so a few things are gonna be similar, like we are gonna first of all get the room, and then we are going to check if the person is room admin or not. So instead of checking the member, we are going to check is room admin. So this is the function that we're going to need, and we will check if a person is room admin or not. Only then they can edit this thing. Otherwise we will, just like view room, we will return room not found 404. Okay, so now what are we going to do here? So we have got the room and we know that the person is a room admin. So initially, in the case of a get request, we will render a template whose name is edit room.html, and it's quite simple, but let's see. I've already created the edit room template here. So it is a very simple HTML template where I am asking for the room name, members, and then a submit button. But an interesting thing is that it is quite similar to the create room template, the create room form, but also we have value. So this value will be pre-filled with the current value of the room name and the room members. So for the room members, I am just putting room members string, which is a comma joined string for all the room members. So let us see how do we implement this. So room name is what I need to pass, right? So room is already available to me, so that is not a problem. I can simply do room equal to room. But for the members, what I'm going to do is current room members, or let me call it existing room members. So these might change if we edited the page, so let me just call it existing room members is equal to and now here I am actually going to find the usernames for each member. Member username for member in get room members for the given room ID. So this is what we are doing here. And then what do we do with this list? We convert it to a room members string, which is comma joined string. So dot join existing room members. So room members string is room members string. So that's it. This seems fine. So let us try out our edit room function now. So let me just put /edit. So it is returning room not found again. So let me see what can be the issue. So I must be getting the room, but let's see what is happening in is room admin. I am doing return room members collection. Okay, again the same mistake. It should be a key. So yeah, it should work fine now. Okay, so let me just reload my application. Key error username. So key error username is happening here. Okay, so we did a bad thing here. If we get the username data, then the username is actually inside _ID key. So let me just do it like member, then get its ID, the unique ID, and then get the username inside it. This looks fine now. Okay, the changes have reloaded. So let's run it again. Okay, so look at that. We are getting the edit room form where we already have the pre-filled values, which are the current values. So we are getting the members and the room name, right? So what else we need is when we click submit, we should do some action. So let's write the code for that as well. So if so existing room members is this. So let me just write it from here. If request dot method is post, then what should I do? If request method is post, then I will get a room name, a new room name in the form data, request.form.get room name. So I will save the room with that. I will actually update the room. So let me just import that function. Update room will take two arguments, the room ID and the room name. So we have the room ID, we have the room name as well. So in this way our room will get updated. Now we need to know how many room members do we need to add or remove, right? So we have a list of existing room members, right? And then we have the list of new members. So let me call it new members. So new members value is going to be I'm just gonna take it from the form data like this. Okay, so we get the new members. So now members to add. So what are the members that I need to add? So the new members that I need to add are those members who are in new members but not in existing room members. So this thing can be calculated very easily through a set operation. So it is set of new members minus set of existing room members. So what I'm doing is I'm doing set difference here. I am removing all the people who are in existing room members from my new members list. So these are the people who need to be added. So let me convert it to a list. And now members to remove. So how do I need to remove? So I need to remove the people who are in the existing room members but not in new room members. So this is how it will look like. So now let me convert it to a set and then convert it to a list back again. So this way we get the people who need to be added and those who need to be removed. So if length of members to add is greater than 1, then what I will do is I will do add room members, and in the add room members I will pass the room ID, the room name, and the usernames. So usernames are actually the members to add, and they have been added by the current user dot username. That's it. Similarly, we will do it for if length of members to remove. Then in that case we will do remove members, remove room members. So remove room members, let me import it. And what do I need to pass? I need to pass two things, the room ID and the username, which need to be removed. So room ID and the members to remove. So that's it. So we have written some nice logic here for adding and removing some people. And one logical thing that you might notice in update room is that while we are updating the room name, we are not updating that room name in the room members collection. So in the room members collection, we are storing the room name as well. So as you can see, I am storing the room name. So if the room name changes in the rooms collection, it should change in the room members collection as well, right? So how do we update that? So in the update room, let me write the code for doing that as well. So in update room, room members collections dot update many, I will update many things. So underscore ID should be, so what should be my criteria for filtration? The criteria for filtering should be that find all the things where the room ID is this. So we will find all the room members where ID's room ID value is this, and then we will update the room name. So $set, that is set this value, room name. So $set is actually a dictionary. So room name becomes room name. That's it. So this is my logic for updating the room name in all the room members documents as well. So yeah, so this seems fine. So I think now we have accomplished the complete goal. The edit room thing is also done. So let us try it out. Let me just first of all reload this page. Okay, so room name is my room. So now let me change it to Nikhil room. So let me submit it. So I think it so let me just go to the home page. Okay, so it is showing Nikhil room, but why are we getting my room here still? So I think we are getting that because we are not updating this thing here, the room. So when I update the room, I also need to set the room name for my room object that I am getting. So room name equal to room name. And also if the everything has gone fine, then I think I should be telling the user that the save was successful, right? So let me do it something like this. Message is empty, and here if everything goes fine, in the end I say that message is room edited successfully, and I will just simply pass on this message. Okay, so this seems fine. So let me see if I'm using message here or not. Yeah, so we have message. So let us reload this page. So it is showing Nikhil room. Now let me convert it back to my room. Submit. Room edited successfully, and now I'm seeing it as my room. Let me load this page, my room. Yeah, so that is working fine. And now let me try to add a new member. So let me try to add Ravi. So it is Nikhil, Rohit, Ravi. So let me submit, and room edited successfully. So let me just go to my room and see. Look at that, we are getting Ravi here. But again, we are having a problem that in this page it is not showing Ravi because I'm not recalculating my room members string, right? So let me just fix that as well. So if everything has gone fine, then the new room member string should be something else. So if so what can we do here is the room member string initially will be this, and if everything has gone successfully, then room member string should be the comma dot join room members new members, right? So okay, so this seems fine. So this is some big logic, that a lot of code that we have written here, but it should work fine. So let me just reload this page again, and now let me add Sam here. So submit, and look at that, we are getting Sam here as well. So let me just reload this page. So we are getting Sam here as well in our chat room. So yeah, so everything seems to be working fine. So yeah, so I know that it is a long video, but I think you got a gist of what all kind of things that we need to do while ensuring that everything goes fine in such kind of application, right? So we were able to achieve the goal that we had of creating all the operations or all the pages for the chat rooms, like create, edit, and view the room, and that's working pretty cool. So yeah, so in the next video we are going to be working on this chat page, like how do we store the messages that we write here, right? So these messages are not getting saved. So that is what we're going to do in the next video. If you still have doubt, you can put them in the comment section below. That's it from this video. Thanks for